Bună ziua și bine v-am găsit la o nouă ediție a emisiunii BrandUp. Sunt Mihaela Tudor și mă bucur să fiu alături de voi astăzi. Este prima mea emisiune în cadrul minunatei echipe BiziLiveTV. Sper să rămâneți cât mai mult alături de noi pentru că astăzi este o ediție cu totul și cu totul specială. Îl avem alături de noi pe Matthew K. Cross, este un scriitor al multor cărți de business, speaker internațional, consultant al afacerilor din Top 100 Fortune și un om extraordinar pe care am avut onoarea să îl cunosc, cred că în primăvară, și mă bucur foarte tare că am făcut-o pentru că ne-am văzut în cadrul unui eveniment și acum am avut onoarea să-l invit și să accepte să devină unul din speakerii evenimentului pe care îl organizez mâine, Brands That Value. Și asta mă duce deja la subiectul emisiunii de astăzi, ce înseamnă practic valoarea în business și de ce e importantă ea și de ce ar trebui să înțelegem că fără un set de valori nu poți avea valoare în business. Așa că fără să vă mai țin multe minute cu povești despre ce am descoperit eu împreună cu Matthew până în acest moment, vreau să îi urez bun venit. O să mut această conversație în limba engleză pentru că Matthew, it's an American. Good day, Matthew. Welcome to our show.
Mulțumesc frumos, Mihaela.
I'm very glad that you are here, and I'm very glad that you are going to share us some wisdom that you found working internationally with all sorts of companies.
Yes.
And I'm very hopeful that this show will promote education and great education, and we're going to promote values. This is what I'm intending with BrandUp.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's start, please, by telling us why do you come so often in Romania? Why do you choose Romania for?
It's a wonderful question, and it has at once a simple and a profound answer. I'm very attracted to history, and I'm attracted to culture. And I have a very good friend in the U.S. who came to America from Romania when he was 12 years old. And I became good friends with him and his wife and his family. And over the many years that we were friends in America, I always asked him, I said, Alex, he's from Timișoara, I said, Alex, when you're going to return to Romania to visit your relatives, I'd love to join you. And so the opportunity came in 2008. Now 11 years ago, and eventually I've actually ended up spending about 10% of my life, a year out of the last decade, I've been in Romania. It's the place I've been the most, actually, outside of the United States, is Romania. And so, very simply put, a strong attraction to the culture, the people, the history, and the unique role, honestly, that Romania has played in the world. I conceived and co-authored a book that became a bestseller in its category on Amazon, The Little Book of Romanian Wisdom. And this book was conceived really as both a gift to the country, but also a gift to the world to build a bridge between this beautiful, heartfelt, deep wisdom that I discovered, I sensed first, and then through discovery and research validated that there's this treasure trove of profound, soul-touching wisdom in the country. And I felt that it was a crime that this wasn't shared with the English-speaking world. So my co-author, Diana Dorf-Day at the time, we created this book and we published it, and it became our gift to the world and also a gift to the people of Romania. So that's kind of a long answer to your question, but the one thing that was like one of the key diamonds for this whole project and is really deepened my commitment to learn more was the poet Mihai Eminescu. And knowing that had he written in English, he probably would have been as well known in the world as Shakespeare. And that was one of the real inspirations for me. And I never forgot the first piece of one of his beautiful poems is "The world is the dream of our soul." And I just felt like goosebumps when I heard this, the translation in English. So those are some of the key reasons.
Actually, Mihai Eminescu is my favorite poet also. So It's very interesting that you, an American who likes to visit mostly business, no, Romania, are very fond of our Eminescu.
Very fun.
What do you think about the business environment here? What is it lacking?
Well, from the big picture, Mihaela, I tend to look at two sides of every coin, right? So there's a saying that if you have good news and you have not so good news, or if you have good news and bad news, where do you start? And I tend to start with the good news first and then go to the bad news, or the challenge, you might say, first. So I would start on the positive side to open the door that there's a tremendous built up, maybe even pent up hunger for progress and for a return, shall we say, a restoration of values in the Romanian culture. Now that naturally also includes business, but I see that there's also a very strong desire to match and merge business growth with values integrity. I'm very much a champion of that for Romania, being an outsider, being an American, anywhere I visit. I'm very passionate about if companies or countries are going to build and grow economically, that they not leave behind the values that are so important to the culture, right? So I see a great hunger and great interest in not only economic growth in Romania, but also parallel to that in many avenues, and many of the people that I've engaged with, a strong desire to also raise the integrity, raise the mutual respect. And I mean between people, but also for the land and for the culture. And so that to me is very positive and very encouraging. Of course, on the other side, if we go to that, and again, it's not necessarily the bad news, it's just kind of like the status quo news, you might say, right? Which is the holdover from the previous, decades ago, the regime. It's totally understandable when you look at how Romania was under communist rule for so many decades. That tends to get ingrained culturally in the DNA of the mindset of everything from education to business, of course, government and so forth. And this is still in many ways really early times for Romania's, let's say, new day, new time. And so I think as the young people, as the leaders of businesses and industries and startups and entrepreneurial, as that spirit really catches fire, that's going to be, in a sense, a fire of, let's say, transformation. It's like diamonds need great fire and pressure to be created. Gold is only created under great heat and, in a process. And I think that's really what's in the process of happening in Romania. So while I can definitely understand that there's a huge frustration with some corners of the business world in Romania, the entrepreneurial side, I think it's also important to have a certain patience and understanding that the mindsets from the people who were in power and who were in control of the government and in control of the business and all the rest decades ago, that instead of fighting it necessarily, have compassion, integrate whatever elements of that could be still valuable and still good, and let the freedom, if you will, because entrepreneurship fundamentally is about the value of freedom. It's about thinking differently. It's about finding new solutions, and
changing things around you.
And changing things around you, including, it has to include the government. It has to include, but again, people are generally reticent. They're generally hesitant to change. There's a joke that, the only people who really like changes in the world are babies, right? And so
because they are always adapting.
They're always adapting, exactly, and they depend on us. But we're much more interested in upgrading. And so I think the spirit of upgrade, that upgrade to a new way, or let's say a really healthy, right way of doing business that includes growth, has to include values, and has to include essentially the critical value of freedom of thinking, freedom of expression.
So, to clear things up, if we have this base of values, what's in it for them? Because, business people tend to look at the conversion rate. So why to have values in business?
Don't get me started.
I want to get you started.
Values, to me, the most beautiful, powerful, and profound element of values, for me, it inspires what I would call a B2B, which is back to basics, and I'd also parallel say B to V, right? Back to values. All business is successful to the degree that it clarifies, champions, lives, spreads, really acts by its values. Time and time and time again throughout history, in any way, when an organization is true to its values, it's also true to its roots, and it's true to those that are served by its values. By definition, business is about service. It's about providing a product or a service that adds value. So, there's a saying, of course, in any of the entertainment industry, including this interview, that, we need really good AV people, AV, audio, visual people. And of course we do. But I translate that into business. Hey, everyone's in the AV business. It's adding value. And the degree to which you are an AV specialist, that you're conscious of that on a regular basis in your life and with the people that you love and care about, your colleagues, and of course your clients and customers, to the degree that you are conscious that your reason for being is to add value. That means to make it better for individuals, organizations, and the world as a whole. And if we come back to that basic root on a regular basis, and we remember why we're in business, that business is about building a bridge of value, of care, of compassion. And if you really get into it, it's about love. It's about loving this life and this opportunity to serve one another. So for me, values are an absolute non-negotiable. They're not a luxury. They're an absolute necessity. And they're fun. Values are about joy. When you really get into it, they're about bringing joy.
And us as people, no?
Absolutely.
Not only entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. And when we remember that and when we clarify, to me it's, again, very basic, very simple. Values are about principles in action. Or I call it via, the way we get to where we want to go, the way we fulfill our potential, the way we generate more opportunity and possibility, both for ourselves and our organizations, at any size and scale, a startup or a Fortune 100, and the way that we truly maximize the opportunity to generate value. And that includes money, of course, because business is about money, generating money. But we want to do it in a way that's harmonious and that lifts the human spirit and soul. So we want to do it via values in action, VIA. We want to do it via values.
Can you generate money without values?
Well, depends on the values. If greed and short-term and today is all that counts is a value of yours, well, of course you can generate money. But the real question is, on a deeper level, what does that do to your soul? Because you may generate money short-term, but what does it really do to the essential value of happiness and service and connection? Time and time again, we see that when organizations are driven by greed or short-term, again, they may short-term amass amounts of money, great amounts of money. But long-term, what happens to the people involved? What happens to the soul of these organizations when their values are not inclusive? Because by definition, greed is exclusive. It's all about me. It's all about me, and that's it. And when we come from that space, we're not really honoring the essential human value that we're all in this together, and that what I do affects you, and vice versa, and it affects the world. And so, short answer to that is, if we really want it all, in essence, and we're striving for it all, we want to come from values that lift, not values that drag. Values that support and connect, not values that push away and disconnect and fragment. So that's kind of my thought on that.
Do you have some successful stories about companies that preach their values and run their business through them?
Well, to me, the stories are endless. The examples are endless across the spectrum. A few of my favorite examples, one of my favorite examples, honestly, is the American airline company, Southwest Airlines. And seeing an organization that essentially began, by the way, between two attorneys having a cocktail in an airport lounge in Texas with a napkin in front of them. And one of them was a gentleman named Herb Kelleher. He was the founder of Southwest Airlines, and he's having a conversation with his colleague because they couldn't get any sort of reasonable flight from one Texas city to another. And the airlines at the time were very, very exclusive and very, take it or leave it approach. And they weren't very courteous, and they were charging a fortune because they had a monopoly. So Herb basically famously said to his colleague, hey, why don't we start an airline? And it became Southwest Airlines. Well, Herb, again, it's an example of a champion of values. He was a real people person, and he knew that the only way that Southwest would be a success is if he brought one of his core values to the table, and it was lived and practiced every day. And it ended up becoming the symbol of the organization as well. What do I mean? Well, the central value of Southwest Airlines is love. And in fact, their stock ticker symbol on the stock exchange is LUV, right? So love in English, close to love phonetically in English. And their symbol is a heart with wings. So they understood that love was really what they were in business for. They weren't really an airline. They were about lovingly, safely, delightfully transporting people from one place to another, right? And so the connection there with profit is fascinating because Southwest Airlines was the only company after 9/11 and the airline industry took a dive, the only airline that did not do layoffs with people. And the reason, when they were asked at the time, how come you're not laying off to build profits and keep profits strong? Because they said, well, our people are our family. We can't just fire people or lay people off.
So it wasn't just marketing.
It wasn't just marketing. It was the soul of the organization. And interestingly enough, with love as their core value, their stock ticker symbol, their icon, their logo with a heart and wings, and with Herb championing it, Southwest has never had a losing quarter. And they're among the most profitable airlines in the world. And what does that say? And their customers are fiercely loyal. I mean, I'm one of them, right? They're fiercely loyal. They will take a Southwest route, excluding other airlines, even sometimes if it takes a little longer or there's a connection, because of the way they're treated. They're treated like family. They're treated with love. They're treated with great respect and appreciation. So that, to me, is one of the best examples. There's many others we could discuss, but I love that one because it's simple and it's about love. So.
Matthew, what would you say to companies that have values but do not necessarily manifest them, do not share them with their employees?
Simply put, the degree that there's a gap between values that are unclear and unlived and unchampioned and values that are, and that gap is lost opportunity. So what I would say is get serious about your values, but get serious with joy. And so those two words may not always go together. I'm talking about get seriously excited, get seriously joyful, get seriously passionate, and begin the journey of bringing the values out of the air, out of just words, out of just thinking, and bring them to earth, fundamentally, which means get clear on what they are, and then take it to the people. Ask the people in your company, ask your team to help validate and clarify what the central values are of the organization, and then bring it to life by living them, by literally having them visible. One of the key things is you've got to be able to see them every day.
Does it matter if you are a startup or medium-sized company?
It's important across the board. Every company generally starts with either one person or two people, and they have values. Values spark the creation of product and service, right? You think at Apple. Apple began essentially with two people, Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. And one of their key values was unleashing the power of technology to support creativity. Creation being a huge value that they wanted to utilize and simplify technology to serve people for creativity. Well, why? Creativity lifts us. It connects us. It makes us feel great. It improves the human condition. And up to that point, computers were impossible. No one used them. They were hopelessly complex. They weren't human, centered. They weren't easy. And so that core value of creativity and really freedom to liberate the passion and creativity of people was a core spark of Apple Computer, which is now among the most companies on the planet, right? So if you're a startup, clarify and do everything possible. Values are about culture. We can't forget this. We have them whether we speak them and champion them or not. But if they're clear and if they're lived, values and culture go together. What is a culture? Culture is a medium scientifically in which things grow. And so if we're clear about the values and we're doing our best to live them and champion them, we're going to create an environment of growth. And that includes profit, but it also includes growth of whatever it is that's inspiring us to go into business. Startup, Amazon, name the company.
Matthew, I'm hearing a lot that a lot of people now, young people especially, want to go into business to make money. What do you think about that? Is this a reason to start a business?
Well, I think, again, it goes back to a more shorter-term focus in our culture. We are more and more and more being obsessed with the short term, What can I get? What can I do to make money? Is a really strong focus on pay me now before necessarily I've even delivered. And we have to remember that it's a longer term focus, a longer view that will deliver everything that's wanted. There's a thought that, again, money is about materiality. It's about things, fundamentally. And there's a focus on things. Yes, there's a focus on experiences as well, but money is only a medium. Money is an expression of value. It's just a piece of paper or metal and so forth. But if you really, really get down to it, this is kind of an interesting, quick parallel conversation because I've done some exploration deeply in the last few years about what is money. Fundamentally, what is it? What are these pieces of paper that we hold so dearly, or gold or so forth? Well, fundamentally, in these days, it's digital notations in a system. Money is, in a sense, very, very ephemeral. It really doesn't exist. If you really go down to it, it's about one value: trust. Trust. Money is about trust. I trust that this piece of paper or this metal or this code number on the internet will lead to something. And so I think what's really at the root of the intense, let's say, overfocus on money as being the answer and being the secret of life is there's a missing trust in some ways in our time. A trust that the universe is an abundant place, a trust that we can access that abundance, and a trust that our lives have value. We don't need to necessarily be validated at every turn by more quantity, money, but by the quality of our lives. And so what I would say is a focus on what's behind the desire for money. There's values there. There's something there, whether it's a space inside of the person that feels like it can be bridged by money, or whether it's a desire to do good, or whatever the desire might be. I always encourage people, when money is a real intense focus, to back up from it because it's an outcome. It's a result of aligning with your values at any age. What is it that you truly are seeking and truly want? And if you can connect what you really want with your efforts, with your service, and you can bring that together, the money will come. It's that whole notion that if you do what you truly love, if you do what you're here for, the money and everything else will follow. And that's been a big part of my work when it comes to money, is how to create processes and systems, trainings, tools, books, and so forth, media, that can help people reconnect with the root behind the desire for the money. I'm very, very focused on, money isn't bad in its definition, but when it becomes the sole focus, we can compromise our soul, we can compromise ourselves, we can lose sight of what really counts. And kind of a close to that question is, all value in life at any level is in one place. You can find it predictably over and over again. And the more we remember this and the more we focus on it, all the value will come. And that one place is the present. This very moment, this second, is filled with vast, eternal value. And when we remember that, and we remember to honor the gift of this life and honor every opportunity, including this interview, including this ability to reach and touch the world, value comes from that. So those are some of my thoughts on that.
Matthew, you worked with a lot of billionaires, and you also wrote a book about a sort of map.
Yes.
Of how to become one.
Yes.
Do you have some thoughts that you want to share with the people that are watching us?
Absolutely.
About
Absolutely. Yes. One of the first books that I wrote that I was inspired to create was based on a process that I created to increase the clarity of values in my own life And yes, also to open a wider runway, shall we say, open the door wider to greater abundance in my life. And when I say abundance, I include money. I absolutely wanted to include and invite more flow and more ability to lift my own life higher, but also to serve others. Money is a wonderful, wonderful expression of energy. We can't forget that. And so as you invite more energy and you are given more energy, money included, the opportunity comes to serve at a higher level. So I created a process. It's inspired by many different sources. One of them was fairly well known. One of the founders, you could say, of the worldwide phenomenon, The Secret, a woman named Esther Hicks, gave me a $1 million bill in a business meeting. I was meeting with her and her husband, Jerry, many years ago in the United States, consulting on their first website on the internet. And at the end of the meeting, she said, I have something for you. And she reached into her wallet and she pulled out this beautiful $1 million bill. And she says, this is something for you and to inspire you. And so I kept that with me for many, many years. And it was one of those seeds of inspiration. Well, my research and reading over the years has been about how can we reconnect with the universal source, right, at every level. And so I created a process. And I first did it myself. And it was a simple process of spending money on paper in the workshop of the imagination. Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge, right? Knowledge is limited, imagination circles the globe. I'm paraphrasing Albert. And so I began a journey of spending money on paper as a example. Money was the vehicle of growth, of expansion in my consciousness, in my memory, in my imagination. And I had the flash of insight to link the spending pattern in this process, which took 21 days. I spent increasing amounts of money over 21 days, but the money didn't double. Doubling is not the way nature operates and grows. The spending was tied to this wonderful principle, this universal law of growth and expansion called the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio. This guides the growth of a human being from 2 cells to us today. And the growth of an ocean wave, even from swells out in the ocean to huge, beautiful waves that crash. The growth of all life, the movement of all matter. And I had the flash of insight that if I tied my imaginary spending on a daily basis to this law of growth that nature uses to grow harmoniously and naturally, well, it could open the door. It could connect me with the universe, if you will. I did it for 21 days. And then within 90 days, within 3 months, my income tripled through sources that I would have never predicted. My income literally went up 3 times. And I remember at the time, this was many years ago, I was like, wow, I had the instant connection that this process that I did led to this outcome. And it was a fun process, by the way. I mean, I had a pad at that time, just had a notebook, and I would go to my favorite cafe, and I would spend a few minutes at the beginning of the day, and I'd write down, I'd start the day with $1,000, let's say, and I'd write down, how would I spend $1,000? And I felt it. I really imagined it and felt it. And I did that. And then I shared the process with friends and colleagues and so forth. And literal miracles started happening. One of my closest friends did not have the full money to go buy a car outright. And he did the process. And within about 2 months, one of his clients had a family car that was like in brand new condition that they were gonna sell. And they said, wait a minute, would you like our car? And he got a brand new car. And these sorts of things happen again and again. So it inspired me to write a book that became The Millionaire's Map. And it's fundamentally your playbook for prosperity. It's your own personal workshop. It's a playbook, a workbook, but a playbook where you're given the opportunity to journal how you would spend increasing amounts of money tied to this natural growth principle in your life. And again, money is the vehicle. It's not all about cash. I experienced the ignition of my income tripling and an upward spiral of prosperity in my life. Financially, yes, but also in all the other areas that count. So that's the Millionaire's Map.
So the mindset is also important.
The mindset, the millionaire, the billionaire, the infinitaire. We'll coin a new word, because millions and billions still have a ceiling. Infinity, trillions. That mindset we can all access and activate at any age, at any point in our lives. If you only have a few dollars or a few euro or a few leo to rub together, as they say, this process, in my experience, can invite and trigger greater abundance in your life at any scale.
You have some money there. Would you like to show?
Yes, this was actually to
What
remind
it
me
is about?
about Romanian currency. Well, I began an experiment. I had this idea a decade ago to create something of value, quite honestly, as my business card. So I came up with the idea, and this is going back a decade, but right before I came to Romania for this latest visit, a few weeks before, I decided I have to do this. I have to experiment. So I printed $1 trillion. I printed 500 $2 billion notes, right? And they're my business card. My website, my phone number, my WhatsApp is on them. And on the back is one of my favorite buildings, I think the most beautiful building in the United States, the Boston Public Library. But the bill is not just about money, it's my business card, but it also is about value. It's about permission to dream. It's about giving people the license to think big. Why did I pick 2 billion? Well, it's of course a big number, but in America, the $2 bill is considered very, very lucky. They're rare. And in America, I usually give them away as tips. I add them to the tip as a $2 bill. So for me, 2 is a powerful place to start. So it's 2 billion, and everywhere I go, I've been experimenting. It's an experiment now again. I've been giving these away as my business card, and I leave them with tips. Well, the response I've gotten has just been delightful. It's been wonderful. People light up. I was flying to Germany recently, and the border patrol in Romania were like, oh, can we have one? Can we have one? You know, and I gave one away, and they were looking at it. And I was in a German bank, and it's a quick funny story. The service I got, it's Deutsche Bank. The service I got was so wonderful at this branch that I said, here, I want to give you my business card. It's just as a token of esteem. And the branch manager came over and said, can I have one of those too? And he's feeling it, because my printer in the States did a really good job. It actually feels like money. And the branch manager of this German bank comes over and says, Mr. Cross, Herr Cross, we think you're in the wrong business, because it felt so real. But back to it. It's my business card, and it's also a license or permission to dream and think big, because most of us have a ceiling in our mindset about how much potential we can bring, how big we can grow, not just in size, but in quality. And this is a token.
We cut basically our own wings.
That's beautifully
most of
put.
the time.
That's beautifully put, yes. And or we don't give ourselves the permission to let those wings spread. I think we're all guarded and protected and, quite honestly, loved and cherished by guardian angels. Probably one big one, too. Invisible, with us at all times. And most of us, we forget. And I think it's really important to remember that there is a divine spirit, power, God, force in the universe, and we need to call on that more. And so these are ways to call on those wings, call them forth. And I'll say this, I just want to add a quick point to this, because I've been studying a lot butterflies as a metaphor for life, the beautiful metamorphosis, the cycle of a butterfly. And it's intriguing to note this, because I think this one principle is very important for people to remember when they're going through tough times, when they're struggling, when they're being hit with turbulence or wind in the face, tragedy, whatever the case might be. Life is not always perfect, of course, and we've all been through tough times. Butterflies require struggle in order to emerge victorious from the cocoon with their wings fully developed and intact. If you interrupt the cycle, they've done studies on this, that when a butterfly is struggling, right, the caterpillar is transformed in the cocoon. The metaphor for humans is amazing too, right? We go through fire and tribulation and challenges. When a butterfly is struggling to break free from the cocoon, if they're helped, their wings don't develop and they don't fly. The struggle is vital. That it's critical to go through that struggle and hurt in order to be able to emerge victorious as a beautiful butterfly. So I think it's really important for us to remember that victory requires oftentimes struggle and the dark night of the soul, if you will, in order to emerge victorious. And life is never a straight line up, nor a straight line down. It's a series of waves. And when we take the long view and understand that, we can relax and breathe and receive the gifts of challenges and adversity and better prepare to invite the upward wave and reemerge with those wings.
And maybe not to forget that nature is the smartest thing in the world,
Mihaela, that's my language. Speaking my language, that nature is the best teacher and the best inspirer, the best healer, if you will. Yes, absolutely.
Matthew, if people want to hear more from you, I know that you are present in 2 events this week.
Yes.
First one is tomorrow evening,
Indeed.
Brands That Value.
Yes.
Of course, it's about value because the whole show it's about values and how to exponentially create and make them your dream.
Yes.
And also you have a workshop.
I do. Yes.
For whom they are dedicated and what do people expect from them?
Well, if we take it in sequence, there is a wonderful event happening tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock, starting at 6 o'clock here in Bucharest, and that is the launch of the Brands That Value,
the
portal,
first
the
event.
portal.
Yeah.
And this is very exciting, beautiful location, but most importantly, a beautiful launch of something very powerful that's not just limited to Romania, but is about really restoring values in business and in media and bringing those two together. So that's a very powerful event that I'll be speaking at in a sense in keynote fashion for perhaps 15 to 20 minutes and sharing a very quick exercise of aligning your values compass, right? It's in all of us. The workshop will be a workshop that I've done around the world. I've done this for many years. It's really the foundation and heart of my work with the Fortune 100 and with individuals as an executive coach, because I do both. I work with individuals and I work with huge organizations. I work with Alliances, the INGs, the Bank of Americas, Stanford University, a wide, eclectic range of very successful world-known organizations, and I work with startups. I work with people who are just beginning the journey, and I work with people. Well, this Friday's masterclass will be a fantastic opportunity to go right to the root of your personal values in life and in business, surface them, align them, and build an action plan. Bring them to earth and build an action plan to support their vibrant manifestation in life. And that includes the values of connection, relationship, that includes success in business, that includes whatever it is that your individual dream, your passion might be. We will discover together. And I facilitate a process that's behind the world's most successful organizations. It's guiding Toyota, for example, and many successful organizations. And I wrote the world's first workbook, a playbook, that guides participants through how to create a map, how to create an action plan that will bring those values to life so that you can truly live your full potential. And you can do it with joy and with confidence. And again, parallel as importantly, it'll help you be more successful financially and in your business and with your loved ones and with relationships. So that masterclass is this Friday, and it will be at Tudor Communication as the location, this beautiful location, and it's open to the public. And it's just a fantastic opportunity to build on where you are today, to bring your dream and your passion to life, and to support you to add more lift, to spread the wings again, so that you can really fly with more confidence in whatever your dream is at any level. So that's kind of the shorthand for it. It's very experiential. It's not a lecture.
I can promise, because this is how we met. And I saw people enlightened. I saw people extremely enthusiastic, living one day of masterclass with Matthew. As a woman said, it's an MBA in
one day.
in
Yes,
one day.
That was very humbling, very humbling. And I have to say again that all of us carry great wisdom, great potential. And I think that our lives are really about surfacing that potential and sharing it. It's valuable when it's shared. The song in our soul is something that's meant to be sung and shared. When it is, it's a rising tide lifts all boats. It's a true winners all. When we lift ourselves and bring our gifts to the table to share with the world, everyone benefits, including ourselves. And so I'm very passionate about this, because this particular process, this North Star process, which is what the heart of this is about, is very much about bringing your values to earth. And it's as fundamentally about raising the human condition, making the world a better place, and being successful in the true sense of the word, the full dimensional, multidimensional, term of success. That's what it's really fundamentally about. And it's made a big impact on my life. That process, which I learned and mastered and have written about and shared with tens of thousands of people around the world, is the reason that I get to sit here with you today, Mihaela, and get to share this time with everyone who's joining us. So it's personal, and I also mean it as a gift.
You cannot be successful in your personal life and in business. You can strive to be in both places. You can bring yourself clarity and, as you said before, think big, because there are no limits if you strongly believe that there are no limits.
Yes, yes. And I'm inspired by what you just said. Two things. One, we focus, and I'm very focused on thinking bigger. Thinking bigger. It was actually two of the 6 words that for me, Steve Jobs brought to the world. 2 of those words are dream bigger. He told an associate at Disney who asked for his counsel that he should dream bigger in the plans for the Disney stores. And I carry that with me, dream bigger. But I also think it's it's wonderful to remember that it's not just about size. It's about big. It's definitely about quantity, but I also would suggest that it's about dreaming better. So it's bigger and better. We want to make sure that, we want to remember that there's a dance between the two. And I think really values in many ways, this is a good insight, values is about remembering the best of who we are, the best of the human spirit, the best of what we bring to the table, and really coming from the best first, you could say, foundationally, like the base of the pyramid is dream better, dream the best. And when you do that, the big follows, because that's one of the primary teachings of success in business. Quality is one of my core values. Quality is really what I'm about, quality transformation, right, in life and in business. And when we go to quality, it's about the best. And when you focus on the best in yourself and in your idea, your product, your service, the people around you, the biggest comes. The biggest the biggest can't help but come. It's magnetized. It's brought into the picture. And that leads me to spiral into the question, and my thought, Mihaela, is, in so many words, what has led you to this time and place? What has led you to be, honestly, a champion of values in business and in life?
I don't believe myself as a champion, but I strongly believe in doing good and dreaming bigger and thinking differently and believing in people. I always give chance to each and every one and try to help them think, dream bigger.
Yes.
So that is basically the reason why I was so enthusiastic when meeting you, because you basically said in one masterclass the things I believed in, and I've never heard them from another speaker until then. And it's amazing that you helped me so much gaining clarity and making an action plan and helping me putting Brands That Value, the first edition, on track. And I'm very pleased that you're going to be there and the people are going to know you. It's very important to understand that we need to speak the same language. And this first event, it's about marketers, PRs, companies, making them sit at the same table, debating on the problems and trying to change the way they communicate.
Yes.
Because all of them are pretty unsatisfied of the way things are now. Press is struggling, and I think that they need to reinvent themselves.
Yes.
And to find solutions on bringing back the quality, bringing back the stories about people, and trying to not be so commercial as they are now.
Yes.
Because people are smart, they know that now they have all sorts of channels and ways to get info. And I think that there is a goal here.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that Tudor is going to be one of the main actors and the main, let's say, motor engine
Yes.
to do things in a better way.
Yes, beautifully expressed, and thank you for the sentiment around the impact that the masterclass had. I'm humbled, I'm honored, and I'm delighted and excited about the opportunity to work together and to truly. I come back to champion from the standpoint of being a herald, being a tribune, being a passionate advocate of values. To me, in America, champion has this wonderful multiple meaning. It's being number one, yes, it's being the champion, but it also speaks to carrying the flag and the art of restoration. I'm humbled. I'm excited. I'm delivering my second TEDx talk here in Romania on the 23rd of November in Baia Mare, and the theme of that talk is building bridges. And so I smile because when I think about you and I think about the mission of Tudor Communication and brands that value and so forth, and the values as a seed of success, nurturing that seed, right? It's so clear to me that it's about restoring the bridge. It's about restoring and honoring that bridge between our values and the world. And so I just encourage everyone who's joined us and has listened to this time together. I encourage everyone to join us. By all means, join us tomorrow evening and join us on Friday for the masterclass, because your future, your destiny, your higher potential is waiting, and I might even suggest gently knocking at the door. So, yes.
So
Yes.
back to values, because it brings abundance, as you said.
Yes.
And hopefully we are going to hear more and more of you, Matthew.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
I'm very pleased that we basically touch a lot of subjects. I know it's not enough. We've spoke a lot about how to save and restruct businesses and
Yes.
help them grow
Yes.
and help people grow.
Yes.
So I'm sure that our listeners will have some questions, and I promise them I'm going to give them to you and
Wonderful.
send the answers on
I'm happy.
BiziLiveTV.
I am happy, yes, to answer questions, yes. And the three words that I would summarize, in a sense, for me, three words: values equal value. Think about that. Values equal value. What does that mean? It means when your values are clear, when they're lived, when they're passionately shared, they will equal value. Financial value, money value, yes, but values in all spectrums of the diamond. That includes joy, that includes service, compassion, that includes health, that includes the planet. So values always equal value.
Și ca să rămânem în această notă optimistă, mă bucur foarte tare că am fost împreună astăzi aici. Cu siguranță că puteți urmări și înregistrarea emisiunii pe YouTube și pe, bineînțeles, site-ul BiziLiveTV. Sunt Mihaela Tudor. Vă invit să descoperiți propria voastră hartă a milionarilor, în sensul de abundență, în sensul de valori, să ne întoarcem la valori, pentru că cu siguranță că ele fac ca lumea să fie mai bună și prin fiecare din noi putem să contribuim la acest lucru. Urmăriți-ne și data viitoare, pregătim subiecte la fel de interesante. Rămâneți cu noi și trimiteți întrebări dacă aveți pentru Matthew. Vă garantez că voi reveni cu răspunsurile și, de ce nu, puteți să-l contactați chiar personal. Este un om extraordinar care cu siguranță că vrea să cunoască cât mai mulți antreprenori și specialiști care își doresc să aducă mai multă valoare în lumea aceasta. Vă mulțumesc foarte mult, sunt Mihaela Tudor și ne vedem data viitoare.